UK and approved lead tutor. He has audited more than 600 companies for QMS certification and has conducted more than 110 international registered lead auditor courses in India. He has in-depth knowledge of ISO 9001, 2015, ISO 17,021 and ISO 19,011 standards. I welcome Sir to take over the session. Slide from
yeah, it's working. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anil Patil Kulkarni. So I'm basically an auditor, assessor of ISO certifications, ISO standards, various ISO standards. ISO stands for International Organization for Standardization. It was started in 1987 in Geneva, Switzerland. These are all international standards where all countries participate in forming the standards itself. So there are about, it's a committee is called a working committee. It's called as TC 176. That is headquartered in Geneva. India is also one of the permanent member in that certification body. So new National Education Policy 2020 in various places it quotes that our education system should be upgraded to international standards, international quality benchmarks, quality assurance, etc. But if you Google it in Google, you will not find any international standards for education sector. There are no education standards as such, but various countries, they participate, they formulate their own standards. UK is the pioneer in establishing standards. They are the first country in the world where standards were formulated way back in 18th century itself. So we are all now, other countries are just following their footsteps. So India has got its own standards body called Bureau of Indian Standards. So Bureau of Indian Standards, it works under the umbrella of ISO, where the product standards are formulated, systems, processes, etc. This is not only the product. When you say water bottle has got ISO standard, so ISI standard is meant for the standards are prescribed, defined for Indian consumption. So it is not international standard. International standard for water is another standard where the benchmarks are little tough for Indian consumers to assimilate. So with that, I will just introduce the problem statement, because anyway in the morning we saw what is National Education Policy 2020, what are the challenges in implementing this policy and all that. But my aim is how I can contribute, how we can contribute in the implementation of NEP 2020, some practical methodology to implement it in a baby step. So National Education Policy now encompasses all pillars from foundation level, Anganwadi, Balamandir, that is first 3 years, then 2 years of first 5 years, then you have preparatory level of 3 years, then middle and secondary. So at each step, now NEP policy says we should aim for outcomes, attainment of outcomes, outcome-based education, inclusiveness, and student or kids, they have to start enjoying. They should be playful at the same time. They should be groomed as you can say good inputs, because when you say outputs, outcome-based education, inputs become very important. Now the problem is India is following outcome-based education only for engineering programs. National Assessment and Accreditation Council is for the institute, overall institute. So you have silos, or you can say a fragmented standardization. And that too, Washington Accord is one of the umbrella, international umbrella, where they specify the requirements of technical education or technical programs. So when you say inputs, our inputs starts from the foundation level itself. So, but unfortunately, there are no international standards for foundation level of schooling, preparatory level. These are all new concepts. Then how ISO can be used as a tool for implementation of NEP at various levels, schooling as well as higher education sector. As you know, these are all actually in the morning also, a lot of presentations were there on how NEP 2020 is going to revolutionize the education in the country, including inclusiveness, all the pattern. Now, this picture shows, can you see what is the difference in their attire itself? When they are in schools, they freak out. They can wear any type of dress. Okay, and when they come to secondary education, they are more polished and they have to follow disciplines of the schools. And discipline becomes, critical if a school body is CBSE or ICSE. When it is a government school, there is a relaxation. So there is some kind of discrimination in the present education system. And when you go to college, again, you freak out. So there is no uniform, as well as there are no set guidelines. You can do whatever you want. Now, education policy also says autonomy at every stage. And again, now education policy expects that our graduates coming out of higher education institute should be of this kind. They should be very kind, cultured, and respect for other regional languages, respect for other cultures, caste. There should not be any discrimination in caste, and all that good things they expect at higher education level. And when you are giving nothing at the foundation level, and so everything has been worked out, and then a great education policy has been evolved. So I don't want to take your time. Present education system is 10+2, and the new education policy is 5+3+3+4, 15 years. And my objective of presentation of this is not to explain what is education policy, how I know better than others and all that. But I have got some inputs in implementing NEP. So again, one of the speaker told about the proverb of Swamiji Vivekananda. He said education should be holistic and man-making, life-giving, and character building. These things form the basis of NEP 2020. So when you come to ISO, there are plenty of standards. Which standard is suitable for implementation of NEP? That is the world's popular and most well-accepted standards called as ISO 9001. ISO 9001 is, it says, quality management system, QMS, quality management system requirements. Requirements means standards, like how your as other accreditation bodies, they have 7 criterion and specific benchmarks, quality metrics and all that. ISO has got set of clauses. But the differentiating factor in ISO, which is not very well perceived by industries or education sectors or hospitals, is that it advocates a kind of philosophy, quality management philosophy. How philosophy is different from standard. So now education policy is talking about philosophical language also. At the same time, it says our education system should be geared up in meeting the 21st century skills and integration of AI and ML at various places. It says artificial intelligence and machine learning is going to be the need of the hour, 21st century skill. We don't know, in 2040, one more new technology may come out, arise, other than this AI and ML. But anyway, they have set guidelines that every 15 years, NEP is going to be revised. And after 2035, there is going to be a new edition or new deletion or something. So ISO 9000, I'm not going to talk about standards, clauses, because we have in other accreditation model, a set of standards. Like in National Assessment and Accreditation Council, you have 7 criterion. Okay. And in ISO 9001, 10 clauses are there, main chapters, which are mostly similar, but wording may be different. But all National Assessment and Accreditation Council or National Board of Accreditation requirements are very much included in ISO 9001. Or I can say 9001 may be base or mother standard for evolving many other accreditation models in the world, because this was published in 1987. Now almost 2 lakh, more than 2 lakh industries, including education sector, primary schools, medical colleges, universities, are all certified. Okay. Certification is given if you comply with ISO 9001 clauses. But the 9001 says the outcomes, or you must have a quality policy, quality objectives, you must have SMART objectives. SMART means specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So now NEP 2020 says we should achieve gross enrollment ratio of 50% in the higher education system sector by 2035, and 100% enrollment for schooling, which is very ambitious, and without having a proper philosophical model, including the standards, we will not be able to attain or achieve these goals unless we have a proper system of implementation. So, as one of the speaker told, that it is not going to be, you can say autonomy is giving autonomy to everyone, but not complete autonomy to higher education sector to formulate their own education system, or you can say curriculum. So how curriculum has to be designed in line with ISO 9001. 7 principles I will run through. The first one is customer focus. You have to change it. Stakeholders focus, not student focus. If NEP says it's all student focus, little bit of teacher centric also. But I can say very little is what you call autonomy is given to higher education institutes in formulating their own curriculum, okay, and their own examination evaluation system. They say it has to be formative now, so there are no guidelines will come, but anyway we have a set standard. Customer focus is students focus, alumni focus, teacher centric, employer centric. When you say employers, recruiters, employer centric. NAC also says the same thing. You must have stakeholders expectations, and those expectations have to be converted into curriculum or syllabus. The second one is leadership. Even NEP 2020 also says you should have leadership and governance. So leadership is all about establishing the entire higher education system. Now they have revamped the leadership and governance in 2020 also. There will be a lot of experts, mentors from outside in the part of board of governors, or you can say academic council, rather than having your own set of people from your departments. They formulate their own curriculum, which is not industry specific. Okay, so there are a lot of gaps because the teachers themselves are not skill oriented or competent to face the 21st century skills. So leadership plays very important. Competent, then engagement of people. Engagement of people means internal and external agencies, especially teachers, non-teaching staff also, and others, stakeholders, parents, alumni. So they are all part of this engagement of people concept. It is not; these are not standards; these are principles. I'll just give you one example. What is principle and what is standard? So in your home, you have certain set of activities you do from morning 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock, including your breakfast and your day-to-day activities and puja or prayers and all that. So are there any standards to be set for these academic activities or your day-to-day routine activity? No. So everything goes on. without saying. You don't require any standard for how to have a long relationship with wife. That is why these are all without standards. Our country is much ahead, with lower diverse rate of more, maybe 3% than 26% of US. They have standards, everything, but the outcome is dismal, let's say. So these principles will help in implementing the policies, not the standards alone. Anyway, a 2020 policy has got a lot of standards prescribing bodies, like now Council of Architecture will become standard prescribing body, not the regulatory authority. NEP will become standards prescribing body, not the regulatory authority of medical colleges, which is at presently it is happening. Then the process approach. The main crux of ISO 9000 standard is process approach. The process is basically it's outcome based. We all talk about outcome based education. Now, how do you attain outcomes when you have inferior inputs or you have no control on the inputs? Inputs are your students, right? First set is inputs are your students. Your students are coming from disadvantageous families, so socially, economical, backward districts, rural areas, tribal areas, and you have to bring best out of them in attainment of your outcomes. Your outcomes are like 100% pass percentage to produce gold medal in all the programs, university gold medals. Okay, to produce 100% or 85% employment with a median salary of 6 lakhs, because in NRF it asks the median salary has to be minimum 6 lakhs, and there has to be at least 70% placement with a 20% progression to higher education. So you have, these are results what ranking bodies they expect, and you have no control on the inputs. Now NEP has got a solution for that. So the standards and these philosophies have to be implemented at grassroots level from the foundation itself. Okay, there are some things which we may not like, or these are challenges. For example, respecting all the languages. You must learn Assamese sitting in Tamil Nadu and vice versa. For that, you don't have to depend on teachers to teach. When the teachers themselves, they are not multilinguistic, but you can use online teaching methods or ICT for implementing all these parts. So respect for culture and all that. But unless these are not standard, these are all the wish list of 2020, which can be attained by a set of principles, quality philosophy. That is what ISO 9000 is about. Process approach is plan, do, check, act. The entire standard is based on process approach, or it's also called as Deming's cycle. Dr. Deming was a quality guru of 19th century. So he advocated the policy or principle of process approach. Now the standard itself has taken his inputs in the prior 1987, and they have formulated it as a Deming cycle. Later on, it became process approach. Then we have decisions. Decisions are to be taken based on the facts. Now that's what it's all happening. You don't have to do. Robots will start doing much better than human beings because of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all that. So this principle is more concerned with the adopting the technology like AI and ML based decision making. Okay, these are on the grassroots level. I'm telling, when you start implementing these principles, there are more detailed micro level planning is required. Then relationship management, continual improvement. So these are the 7 principles. So as I told you, these are generic standards. A higher education institute or school can develop their own documentation. I can say first is documentation, then implementation model, then monitoring and measurement. So when you documenting what? Not again piles of files, documentations, thousands of paper will not decide your, again, light and tight, or tight and light, or whatever it is. So light and tight, so documentation should also be lean, and it should have well structured methodologies for monitoring and control. When you want to have 100% placement or 100% pass percentage, you should have your own set of inputs which are to be regulated. So then just tell me, if you want to produce 100% pass percentage, if examination is not conducted by you, you are affiliated, now you are not autonomous. That doesn't mean that if you are given autonomy, you will pass everyone. It is not that. Because the assessment and evaluation has to be formative now, not summative. Okay. So what is best suited to your institute? You have to design your own management system. Still in compliance with NEP 2020 or any standards prescribing. Okay, if NSE is going to be top regulator or commission, National Assessment Council, there will be a lot of other standards prescribing bodies for commerce, management, architecture, okay, fine arts, medicine, Ayush, and all that. You have to comply with those things, but freedom is given to you. Because I'll tell you one important clause, which is called as 4.1. Clause number 4.1. The first clause itself, it says organization and its context. Organization and its context. Context means you are in Padmashri is in a remote place. It is not semi-urban, you can say, around 30 kilometers from heart of the city. That is the context. Your existence is in a place where it can be advantageous or disadvantageous. So you have certain set of students which are coming from rural students. Some students are coming from Nepal, Assam. Some international students are there. So it is not that. So you have disadvantages and advantages of being in this place. The context of the organization is you have to evaluate, assess your internal and external factors. Okay, it's called as brainstorming. Okay, once that is done, then your quality management system foundation is laid. And now when you are designing your own quality management system, you should also see the NEP 2020 guidelines and policies also. And the second one is stakeholders analysis. Usually we do reverse engineering, or we set up our own quality management system, which is only prescribing to students and parents. So these are our set of rules. If you don't fulfill that, you will be detained from the college, or you will not be given permission to take the examination. These are all your set of rules. But you must try to understand what are the students, parents, alumni, industries requirements. Some requirements are specific, some requirements are intended. Okay, intended is you have to search other best practices in other colleges and find out what is best suited to our students. Then these two are important. I'm not talking about other standards. This will set the ball rolling. That means once you have decided what are going to be your inputs, who are all our teachers, what they are, what are their competencies, and where are the gaps. Once we know our gaps, then you can set targets. It is not that our GR will increase to 100% in 2025, and right now our GR is 40%. So it's very ambitious. So you must have incremental targets and very methodical monitoring and measurement tools using your statistical techniques to achieve that, time bound. Then the third step is framing your own vision, mission, quality policy, objectives. This is already, it is given in other accreditation bodies also. Criterion 6, governance and leadership, it asks to establish vision, mission, quality policy. Some vision and missions are very vague, which are not related to your quality management system. So everything has to be relooked into or revamped. If your vision and mission are not anyway supporting your cause, maybe your visionary leader in 18th century, he would have set that vision. But now we are in 21st century. So we should revisit, revamp including vision and mission, quality objectives, goals. Okay, now coming back to the other challenge, which is our next generation students are not only competent, but are good citizen of the country with good moral values, such as they are compassionate, caring, loving, responsible, with good knowledge about the Constitution of India. It is not my words. NEP 2020 wishes, wants how our next generation citizens should be. Unity in diversity with hands-on experience in performing arts and vocational skills also. Vocational education has come to limelight now. And we should be ready for 21st century skills, including lifelong learning, soft skills. When you cannot create your own curriculum for soft skills, when you cannot create your own model for lifelong learning, then how are you going to implement the other part of NEP 2020? Even standards bodies will also not be able to give any inputs about how to attain these soft skills and the human values, value-based education. Then I will leave it to you only. So only philosophy, good philosophical model can only be the tool for attainment of lifelong learning and life skills. So these principles are not standards. Once again, I am concluding. They are, can say, values which we need to breathe every now and then, practice it, and we have to become role model to students to emulate. Then only things can happen in true letter and spirit. Okay, I don't want to read this. Real examples how to make this hypothesis very clear. I have given one example. Our students need to be good son, good daughter, good husband and wife, good father and mother, good friend. Are there any curriculum or syllabi or international standards to inculcate soft skills, life skills to become a good human? Answer is no. When there is hardly 3% diverse rate in the country in absence of any interest. 2 minutes. That's why I asked. You can stop me at any time because I'm filling the void here. Okay. So that's it. NEP 2020 also says in very other places, we have to create universities like Nalanda, Takshashila. We should have Gurukul type of culture. And they also quote about Vivekananda and it's very cautious about meeting the 21st century skills. So 2020 model itself, it has got philosophy in it, and they're also talking about integrating technology, life skills, and 21st century skills. So the need of the hour is not only standards and accreditation models and the policies to guide higher education system. We should evolve our own quality management system, which is very specific to our goals. Okay, not to be carried out by how others are doing and how Australia is doing. So we should be very concerned about how we can do better here in Komagata. So that is ISO 9000. Thank you.
I thank Patil sir for the wonderful session. Moving on. Our second speaker for the second part of the session is Dr. Satish Gowda. I welcome him to the national conference. A brief introduction. Dr. Satish Gowda is an associate professor, Department of Studies in Law and University Law College, Bangalore University. Has put in 15 years of teaching experience at both UG and PG levels. He has a LLM with first class in constitutional law and business and trade law. He has obtained his PhD in the area of constitutional law in 2012 and secured third rank with distinction in LLB, fifth rank in BAL. He holds MPhil in juridical science with distinction. He has published more than 50 articles in different law journals and few articles in Indian newspapers. He has successfully guided 5 PhD research scholars out of 8. Sir, it is our pleasure to have you here with us. Please take this session.
No presentation.
Respected dignitaries, esteemed principal of this college, Professor Madam Anuradha Madam, and our good friend Dr. Tamaya sir, and all respected resource persons and participants. Today, I have been given task to speak about the Indian Constitution syllabus in national education policy, the relevance of Constitution of India syllabus in the national education policy. For your kind information, law and medicine both have been excluded under the purview of NEP, National Education Policy. But nevertheless, how the contents of Constitution will be very useful in the primary education and higher education, and especially when they are having different structure prepared in the national education policy, that is where we have to concentrate. We have to adjust, especially when it comes to our state. Long back only, they have introduced Constitution of India in all syllabus, irrespective of their discipline. For example, I tell you, if you go to other state, there is no compulsory including or studying Constitution of India in their respective discipline. Whereas in Karnataka state, it was introduced in a long back that all students, irrespective of discipline they may belong, whether they may be, if you just go to engineering colleges or medical colleges, even in the degree colleges, in all discipline, they have introduced Constitution of India as a syllabus. Why they have introduced and how this can be introduced under new education policy, that I am going to discuss in brief. As you all know, Constitution of India is a supreme law of the land. It's a basic fundamental political document of our nation. Constitution of India did not emerge from the vacuum. It's a continuous process of evolution, reformation, and recreating the existing system of governance by the eminent scholars. Being a citizen of this country, forget about because I am a law student, because I am an advocate, because I am a judge, because I am a public prosecutor, we have to know Constitution. No. Being a citizen of this country, one must know Constitution. That is why it is said in preamble, it starts with the word, we the people of India, having solemn resolved to constitute India into sovereign, social, secular, and democratic, and every citizen has right to secure liberty, integrity, fraternity, equality, and justice. Simply writing things in the Constitution without bringing to the knowledge of a general public in the country, I think there is no use at all. The very object enshrined in the Constitution is going to be defeated. So keeping that in mind, to make democracy alive and active, our framers of Indian Constitution took much effort to draft a beautiful constitution to the country. Recently, one of the authors is a famous senior advocate, Rajiv Dhawan. He wrote a book on Constitution of India, Miracle. It is a miracle. Surrender and hopes. This is the title of the book. Constitution of India is a miracle, surrender and hopes. What does it mean? It is miracle. Why? Because having one religion, regulating the conduct of the people in other countries is so difficult, in the sense having different religion, different languages, different type of things are there in the country, in the sense one constitution has been working since 1952 till date. In future, we have to introspect how our Constitution of India is working. That is why he uses the word, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. Having different kinds of religion, still Constitution of India we are strictly following. We are just implementing the true spirit, what our framers have taken effort to draft this constitution. Then second, surrender. Surrender means in the democratic setup, you are going to surrender your rights. Of course, I don't want to confuse you. There are so many principles laid down by the political thinker and the social contract theory, where Hobbes says something, John Locke says another thing, Jean-Jacques Rousseau says something. But in all their things, we, the entity of state differ from state to state, country to country. In our state, in our country, we surrender in the sense we elect the general public. We elect a representative of public, LA or MLC or MP, whoever may be. See, ultimately, who is the sovereign, ultimate sovereign of this country is, it is not the Prime Minister, it is not the Chief Minister, it is not the judiciary, it is not the Parliament, it is not the executive. Ultimate sovereignty lies with the people of this country. One of the saying of Lord Montesquieu, political thinker who wrote a book on the spirit of law, he says democracy works when people are intelligent. Otherwise, it is worse than tyranny. How to make intelligent? Through national education policy. We have to appreciate the present government who has taken keen interest. Of course, here and there, when they are going to implement, in fact, in the Bangalore city, under the able leadership of Professor Venugopal sir, when he was a Vice Chancellor, I was coordinated 5 days program. We have invited Honorable Higher Education Minister, we have invited UGC Chairman, Vice Chairman, and all galaxy of Vice Chancellors, judges, and many law professors and all. They have wonderful, we had a wonderful deliberation discussion. They are available in YouTube. Such a way we prepare. When I learned all those things, when it comes to what is there, what are the contents in the NEP, then I came to know, of course, in the initial stage, no doubt there will be some issues. But if you successfully consider all those issues in a authoritative way, implementing in true spirit, definitely under NEP, we can include Constitution of India. Depends upon the type of a student, what type of syllabus they require in the schooling level, what syllabus required in their UG level, and even post-graduation level, and even interdisciplinary subject-wise, and even in the professional courses. Why I'm telling this? When we say democracy, I always say democracy demands participation. Democracy demands participation, but the quality of participation depends upon quality of awareness. The quality of your participation depends upon quality of awareness. The quality of awareness depends upon quality of information. The quality of information depends upon quality of education. So ultimately, NEP has to do something to inculcate constitutional values and principles to the general public. I always say, which is the best institution to minimize maximum violation against the downtrodden, vulnerable sections of the society. I always say, it is not the parliament, it is not the legislature, it is not the executive, it is the institution of family. Family is the best institution, where they inculcate more than national education policy. If all men do something in a adapting some or having some good principles, if a mother teaches a good principle to the son or daughter, then there will be no crime at all. I always say, I keep telling about Ramana's principles. When I was when I was studying 10+2, I read a poem which was in old Kannada, written by Nagachandra poet. That is, it is titled like Abdiya Morme Kalavashidam Maryadem Dantade, where generally we characterize the Ravana's role as a villain, right? But in this poet, he described the character of Ravana in a positive way. Of course, though Ravana abducted, we should not use the word kidnap. Generally, they say kidnap and all. It happens to minor, not to the major. When you are going to kidnap major, then they have to, in our Indian Penal Code legal term, we have to use abduction. Generally, in newspaper also they use the word kidnap and all, right? It is an abduction. But nevertheless, he used to follow the principle called Parangana Vrati. Parangana Vrati means in the sense, respect women without looking at bad intention. My question is, if all men follow the same principles, what Ravana was doing, there will be no crime against women at all. That's the one thing. Second thing, when it comes to the education issue, because nowadays, downtrodden, vulnerable sections of the society and weaker section of the society, they do not know how to participate in the process. For example, in case something goes against their interest, if their right is violated. I recently sent a article to the Vijay Karnataka. It is about Patra Nyayalaya, Patra Mukhena Badavarige Nyayadana. Through letter petition, how even a small, the person who is totally bad in economic education, when he is not empowered in terms of education and economically, how he can also participate in the process. Why I am telling this? Whatever fundamental right part comes, we have there were 7 fundamental rights. Now we have 6 fundamental rights. One, right to property, was deleted from the list of fundamental rights. Remaining 6 are right to equality, right, freedom of liberty. Under freedom of liberty, right to education also comes, I'll tell you. Then right against exploitation, it is not right to exploitation. Then freedom of religion. Then culture and education rights of minorities. Another one, lost remedy is constitution remedy, that is Article 32, which whenever your fundamental right is violated, then you have a right to file a writ petition before Supreme Court and High Court. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he advocated strongly that Article 32 is the heart and soul of our Indian Constitution. Why? Because a right without remedy, no use. So 32 introduced. There are 5 kinds of writ of habeas corpus, writ of mandamus, certiorari, prohibition, and coerento. You can understand whatever writs are there. It again, we have one more class required for discussing writ jurisdiction. Now the issue is, when your fundamental right is violated, as per the statistics, what I've gone through the Supreme Court website, maximum are people who are having economically, educationally, those who are very strong, they can only go and approach Supreme Court and High Court. What about labor? What about farmer? What about unorganized women laborers? What about senior citizens? What about person with disabilities? Framers prepared constitution in such a way, that's why wherever I go, except reservation, all rights are very costly rights. Why? Because but there are good rights available in the direct principle of state policy. After fundamental right, there are good rights available in the direct principle of state policy. Unfortunately, direct principle of state policy are not enforced before the court of law. Nevertheless, they are fundamental in the governance. But even judiciary waited for 3 decades. Then finally, they started interpreting the DPSP in such a way, transferring some of the important basic rights from the fundamental right to direct principle of state policy to fundamental right, that is Article 21. There is an Article 21 called right to life and personal liberty is there. Interpreting Article 21, right to education under Article 45 and 46, it was with the direct principle of state policy. Right to health, still it is in direct principle of state policy. Right to access to justice, go to the court is a right. That is again available under 39A. That comes under direct principle of state policy. Judiciary, being a protector of human rights, what they did, they interpreted in such a way. In fact, 1980s, right to education was added, incorporated in Constitution through Article 21A in the year of 2002. Before that, why they added, because right to education and the fundamental right raised because of two cases: Unnikrishnan versus State of Madras, Unnikrishnan versus State of Andhra Pradesh, and Mohini Jain versus State of Karnataka, where in these two cases, Supreme Court first time they interpreted such a way and they brought right to education from the list of directive principle of state policy to Article 21. Then our parliamentarian, they somehow they were alert, and immediately after this judgment, to give an effect to these two decisions, they added Article 21 capital A under Indian Constitution, according to which it is the duty of state to provide free and compulsory education to the children from the age of 6 years to 14 years. Okay, right to education. When they made it as a fundamental right, then they started enacting law on compulsory education, right to education act 2009. In fact, I have done a major project from UGC. It is on about prevailing lacunas in implementation of right to education act in Karnataka and assessment. Further, in addition to this, there were so many policies, education policies were there. But ultimately, I always say, we have maximum laws, we have maximum plans, we have maximum policies with minimum implementation. According to me, there is no difference between state without law and state with law without implementation. Is there any difference between these two statements? State with state without law, one side, and state with law without implement. Better not to have laws when there is no scope for implementation. But implementation, always, if you can't blame the state. Now I have stopped to blame state. Now I started blaming our people. Why? Because even if you become, before becoming CM, you keep blasting the ruling party. But when you become CM, then you keep quiet. Why? Because people should come and notice to you. Say, this is not being implemented. Please implement us. To know this, we have to know Constitution in general. So, is it not the need of our to incorporate something about rights, about the directive principle of state policy? That can be included very well. So then another one is right to health. Now I always say, what a trinity of important essential fundamental rights under Indian Constitution. Orderly, chronological order, I say, first is right to food, then second one is right to health, then right to education. These three are trinity of our fundamental right. Unfortunately, they were added in the directive principle of state policy. They waited, because if they want to implement directive principle of state policy, it involves state finance. Without, if a state doesn't, if a state is not in good terms with the finance, it's very difficult to implement, because right to equality, okay, there is no question of spending money. Freedom of religion, you can worship in your own house, there is no question. If state wants to pay money to do Satyanarayana Puja, then they would have implemented in directive principle of state policy. So the no required Satyanarayana Puja, if you want to perform, then you have to spend money. State doesn't spend money. Then come to right to freedom of right to education, cultural rights of minorities, only for minority people, not majority people. When you want to implement right to education for entire mass in the nation, irrespective of religion, then you require finance, because it is a fundamental right. There you ought to implement. The main difference between fundamental rights and direct principle of state policy: fundamental rights are enforced before the court of law. It imposes negative duty upon state to implement. But direct principle of state policy, it is left to the state. You cannot go to the court of law. How can you teach a lesson to the government when they come for election? Then you have to ask, please bring this in the manifesto, then we will vote. Oh my God, Ashtu Budhwantridara nam Bengaluru. Agage democracy demands participation. That is why they waited. 1 decade they waited. They did not take any initiation. Second decade they waited. They did not. Third decade, just you have to remember. And Justice P. N. Bhagavati. These two judges, They own the state of public investigation.
Monthly interest, no?
Okay. Yes.
Madai law.
Oh,
Because our transfer
I think you need to mute some participants. Okay, fine. No problems. So then these two judges, they are the champions of protecting our basic fundamental human rights guaranteed in Part 3. What they did, they started interpreting and they added so many now you have series of unenumerated fundamental rights are available under Article 21. Right to life include right to education, right to health, right to environment, right to die. It was there. Again, overruled. Right to life doesn't include right to die. Then right to healthy environment, right to livelihood. There are a series of fundamental rights have been incorporated by two important activist judges, namely P.N. Bhagavati. P.N. Bhagavati makes a statement by interpreting Article 21. He says, judge infuses life and blood into the dry skeleton provided by the legislature and create living organism appropriate and adequate to meet the needs of the society. Means when the legislature or executive, when they do not come forward to implement something what is there in the constitution, then judiciary being a protector of fundamental right, they have a right to interpret in such a way. I have told so many things, but let us know small things to the children of our primary education and higher education, even in the undergraduation level, if not post-graduation level, in undergraduation level, and for professional courses and primary schools, it is very much required to introduce the constitution law syllabus. I always say we have a fundamental right. When Constitution of India came into force, did you find fundamental duties? Fundamental duties were there when Constitution came into force? No. They added after 26 years. After 26 years, they came to know our people are uncivilized. I always make statement, why our framers of Indian Constitution did not incorporate fundamental duties in the original Constitution. Don't ask me, is there any duplicate Constitution? In the 1950, why they have not added? They know our people are cultured people. They respect women. They respect national anthem. They definitely render their service when they are in need. These are things not required to be mentioned expressly in the Constitution. But that's why our framers are very due diligent and they are very, we should hats up and remember our framers, because such a way they drafted beautiful constitution to the country for all type of people. Secular nation it is, secular nation, okay. So that is why they did not incorporate fundamental duties. For example, I always make fun. Sometime when we travel by bus, government buses and all, so some senior citizens, when they are standing, our youths, they don't even stand up and offer a seat to the senior citizen. Where if you write in the fundamental duties, when the elder comes, you should stand up and offer seat. Is it a way to incorporate fundamental duties? So in 1976, they added fundamental duties borrowed from Russian constitution. Now, as of now, we have almost 11 fundamental duties are available. Last one recently they added in the sense, it is a duty of the parent to send their children to the schools. It is the fundamental duty of the guardian to send their children. They added 21A as well as 51 capital small letter K, according to which it is the duty not only with the citizen, not only with the state, but also with the citizen. Citizen means parents, guardians. It is their bounden duty to send their children to the government school. But nowadays, what is happening? Education has become costly affairs. This was the article I written when I was a student of LLM. I used to write. It's a service-oriented aspects. Of course, I came to know some of the issues are also incorporated. These philanthropies philanthropic type of service. We always say corporate social responsibility, CSR responsibility. And likewise, we need a education social responsibility. So where they were planning in the Karnataka State Law University, in fact, it is in discussion, at least in the private colleges, let them collect fees of 60% of students as per their requirement, at least remaining 40%, whatever fee directed and instructed by the state government, that should be collected from the students who belong to weaker section of the society. Ultimately, my view is, of course, we should not behave like a foreign Americans and our European Union, because you cannot compare our country with any other country in the world. Why? Because if you go to any other country in the world, they may be having unlimited resource with a limited population. But ours is different. We have unlimited population with limited resources. So it's a challenging thing, especially to implement. Very easy to blame states, state government and central government. But if you are a state, then definitely you have to think 10 times how to implement these things. That's why I'm telling this in Constitution. So many students, they don't know who is their prime minister, who is their CM, who is their who is their speaker, how law will be enacted, how always say law will be enacted by the legislature. Even many students, forget about students, the lawmakers only, they don't know the abbreviation of MLA, member of legislative assembly. So that's we need education. When I was attending one course in BPST in the parliament, I went there. I was there for 10 days. They trained us along with newly elected member of parliament, because they don't know how to start with the first reading, second reading, third reading, and what is 0 hour, how to go through it and all. So they need some training. They need some training. Even law professors are invited. I also went there. And BPST there, Bureau of Parliamentary Studies and Training Center. Similarly, we need SPST, State Legislature Training Center, where we need to, of course, it is because many do not know. You might have seen in the news channel, speaker directed the newly elected MLA, this is not a way to speak up. You should start with this proposal. There is a way. When Ramesh was speaker, he used to tell. Of course, even Vishweshwara Kagiri, they were all just correcting them. My question, that should not be corrected there directly. It's because people who are watching directly, they are our representative. We have surrendered. We have hopes also. We have hopes. They will do something. They never do something. But somehow, e-governance can bring good governance, I tell you. E-governance in the sense, there they ought to implement some issue. But when it comes to the, why I'm telling all these things, if a student do not know the structure of the government, composition of the government, and how the law will be enacted, how after enacting law, how to demand the executive to implement. If executive do not implement, how to pressurize the judiciary to issue direction to these two parts. That's why I was telling, if legislature keeps quiet, there will be no job to executive and judiciary. Then judiciary cannot direct the legislature. You come out with specific legislation. In fact, Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan, you might have heard about it, is about guidelines issued by the Supreme Court with respect to prevention of sexual harassment of women at workplace. There was no specific law in 1997. This was the judgment rendered in 1997. When they enacted legislation in 2030, almost they have taken 16 years to enact this specific legislation. Without enacting law, there is no duty to executive. Unless, if a legislature enacts law, both will have a duty. The executive has to implement, that judiciary has to interpret. In case if they enact such those laws against to the constitution mandate, particularly if they are violative of fundamental right, then anybody can file petition, writ petition. But what about those days, of course, there is a provision. Still, I cannot go in depth because our framers, they gave this jurisdiction to the Supreme Court and High Court. By that time, there were no many cases. When Constitution came into force, there were no many cases about violation of fundamental rights. But under Article 32, they added one more clause stating that Parliament by law can confer this jurisdiction to any court in India. I have been demanding right from day one, give this power to even district court. Then Bhagyamma or Parvatamma who are staying in near village, at least they can go to district court. They cannot go to Delhi. They cannot go to High Court. There you are violating the right to access to justice of vulnerable sections of the society. That is why what I did, there is another, many do not know about the Gram Nyayalaya Act, 2008 it was enacted. According to this legislation, judges only have to go to village. Many do not know. Now only you are just clapping because, of course, I'm very happy about madam. I'm very happy about madam because even law professors do not know. Very unfortunate. I'm very happy because see, when madam comes to know Gram Nyayalaya, she was very happy. Similarly, if you are going to provide maximum information in your own vernacular language to the general public, then people start participating. Like I always say, if you have money, currency, you will spend. If you have diesel or petrol, you will drive. If you have an information, you will speak. You will spread, you will speak. So your quality of freedom of speech and expression depends upon quality of information and education. Without those two, you will become like dumb and dumber. What you will speak? If I don't have information, how can I speak? So information matters. Awareness matters. Awareness and information comes through education. One should be educated. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಚಿಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾಗ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಜೀಪ್ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಓಡೋಯ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದ. ಈಗ ಅವರೇ ಓಡೋಗ್ಬೇಕು. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಲಾ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಹಂಗಿದೆ. ಲಾ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ we can ask them why you are arrested, why you are penalizing me. ಮೊನ್ನೆ ನೈಸ್ ರೋಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ರು ಸಿಗಾಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರೆ ಬೆಲ್ಟ್ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು 3,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಕಟ್ಟಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅದು ದುಡ್ಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಗಾಡಿ ಸೀಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತಾರೆ. ಕೊನೆಗೆ ನಂಗೆ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಯಾಕಪ್ಪ ಗಾಡಿ ಸೀಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ, ಅವ್ರೇನ್ ಟೆರರಿಸ್ಟಾ ಅಂತ. ಟೆರರಿಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ನಿಮ್ಮವರೇ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ನಮ್ಮ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ಒರಿಜಿನಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದನ್ನ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಒರಿಜಿನಲ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡೆ ಓಡಾಡ್ತೀರಾ DL-ಗಳನ್ನ. ಸಿ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಎ ಚಾಯ್ಸ್. ಐದರ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಲೀವ್ ದೆಮ್ ಆರ್ ಯು ಗಿವ್ ಎ ನೋಟಿಸ್ ಟು ದೆಮ್. ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಕಮ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಪೇ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಕೋರ್ಟ್. That you don't know. We know the lawyers. Then we tell them. Similarly, if one small example, over district judge, she goes to the school. Even we have to, it's a very good concept. We have to introduce in the primary education level. She was telling about child marriage. Child marriage, what is the age? What are the consequences? The negative consequences. Everything she spoke very well in their own way, understanding how to make children to understand. Accordingly, she did and went. And that guy's small child, I think he was studying 6th standard. She told openly, when we attended judicial academic conference, judges were there. There is a legal aid cell is there. Free legal aid is available for women under section 12 of the National Legal Service Authority Act. SC, ST, women, children, senior citizen, unorganized labor, they are entitled for free legal aid. Free legal aid, you want to file case, you don't need to pay money. They will appoint you advocate. You have to go and request. Where madam was telling, she spoke about the child marriage and all. Then after some time, the child was staying near to court. So what happened, where they were just going for preparation of his sister marriage. He asked his mother, asking her, Mummy, what is the age of sister? Hey, what is the age? Please tell me. 14-15 ಇರ್ಬೇಕು ಕಣ, 14-15 ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಬರ್ಡೇ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಇರ್ತಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ. Immediately what he did, he directly went to court. nearby. And he was asking to meet judge. Amina he was preventing. Then when she saw the scene, she told him to allow him to meet me. So he went. Very innocently, boy told, Madam, you told that day, my sister, she is 14 years old, they are preparing for marriage. Really? Very good, better. Come. She took all police officers, child protection officer, went there and stopped. And she gave a caution. This is against the law. You should not. If it repeats, we will send you jail. Then, because of a small boy intervention, how law works out. See. Similarly, if you are going to introduce basic items about Constitution of India in the new education policy, in all the level, primary education level, undergraduate level, and multidisciplinary, whatever courses you introduce, where you require. And when I was delivering a lecture to engineering student, one girl, she stood up and started, what is the nexus between your subject and engineering subject? If they are going to introduce engineering subject in law, are you going to study? She openly asked me question. Okay, you have a right to express your views, express whatever you want, you express. Then I patiently, I listened whatever she does. Then I started telling her, shall I reply now? Okay, you stop, you proceed. Then I said, you are an engineering student. You will be in the process of inventing something, right? Yes, sir. You will be designing something. Yes, sir. You will be writing something. Yes, sir. You need protection. Yes, sir. To extend protection to all your intellectual work, what law you have? Sir, we have intellectual property law. That intellectual property law should be in accordance with the constitution law. Forget about your profession. If a police officer comes and arrests you without following the procedure laid down under Article 22, then you require law or not? Sasta, please tell us more. When I started about arrest, detention, Indian Penal Code, Criminal Procedure Code, very in a basic way to the students of engineering, then they started listening very with curiosity. So why I'm telling this, being a citizen of this country and the backbone of if I start drinking nanu tea kudre heng matadakagutte innu chanaಗಿದೆ.
Actually, I want to have an arrangement with government. If any constitutional need to be taught, only Satish Gowda has to come and no one leader.
Actually, yesterday, Karnataka Parliamentary Affairs, they are Karnataka Institute Parliamentary Affairs, they, after obtaining approval from the law minister, they have insisted to write a book on privileges and immunities for MLAs and MP. They have given deadline 3 months to write this book in vernacular language. I keep writing both the languages, Kannada as well, because I always say I always write all judgment in brief in the vernacular language, because if 10 lakhs readers, especially Prajavani, many readers are there. Once if they read some information, then automatically they will be they will be aware about their rights. And I was just simply wrote, whenever we go to government hospital, doctors gives prescription. Okay, when after collecting prescription, you go to the counter. Generally, even I was experienced many times. They say tablets are not available, sir. You have to purchase outside. Oh God. So we come out. But somehow we provide. Supreme Court, in one case, Paschim Bagh Majdoor Sabha Samiti versus State of West Bengal. What Supreme Court says, you know, non-availability of medicine in the government hospital is a glaring violation of right to health of an individual, which is guaranteed under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. How many knows? Then, did we make any attempt to ask the concerned in charge in the health department or health center or government hospital, asking them, certify that. I will only write non-availability of medicine in the government hospital with reference to cited subject. I would like to bring to your kind notice that when I went to the counter, they said, doctor, medicines are available. Please certify. Are they going to certify it? Did we make any attempt? Did we make this attempt in the country? So, constitutional education, national education policy improves and encourages the citizen to participate effectively in the democratic setup. That is why we require constitutional law syllabus in the NEP curriculum. I always make fun when there is a Darwin and Harvard. When we prepare syllabus like Harvard and teaching style, if it is in Darwin, then I think the very object is going to be defeated. I always say when I go to Gulbarga University, law department, oh my God, even I cannot understand the syllabus prepared by them. But students are very, very, of course, they are, our students are far better. For them, we will add only simplest items which is understandable to the students community. But whereas they are from different rural background, vulnerable sections of the society, for them, Harvard syllabus, how is it possible? So, preparing a syllabus is not a big task. Preparing the faculty members to train the student in such a way, that is a need of our in the country. So, I think I have taken much time. I'll stop my lecture. Thanks for Madam Anuradha Madam and faculty in charge and Tamaya sir for giving me an opportunity to say few words about constitution curriculum in national education policy. Please, sir.
I want to ask one small doubt, sir.
Please, sir.
Can you throw some light under which Article 370 was read down, under what process?
371.
The process went. Can you please throw some light?
Yeah. See, Article 371 is a special provision.
Not 371. Sorry, 370, 370.
Ah,
Article 370.
okay.
Jammu
So,
370 special.
370, sorry, 370, 370, 372, they are all come under the same part. You are asking about 370 special provision. Special provision 370 A, B, C, D, E, F, G, J, 370J for us. It is for, see, under the helm of federal principles, all states should be treated equally. All states should be treated equally, but certain classification is very much required. What classification is required? Can you compare Jammu Kashmir with that of Karnataka state? Can you compare south districts of Karnataka with the north district of Karnataka? Because with respect to the security of nation, with respect to border issue, with respect to so many issues, because if you go to Article 273 and 274, it is about financial grants concern. They provide special grants to the north states. Similarly, under 370, they added from Andhra Pradesh to Jammu Kashmir to Karnataka, wherever developmental activities required depends upon the different situation. State makes classification. Got my point? Now, can you conduct a competition for both a person with disability and person without disability? There will be classification. Keeping that in mind, they have made a classification. Of course, there's another history. 370 when it comes to Jammu Kashmir, removing other things. It was an issue from 1948 when Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was there. Then they started instrument of accession. They added, somehow they protected. This is an issue. Now, recent government, they removed and immediately they treated that part as a, but removing immediately from the list without providing basic facilities and security to the nation, then again, the very object is going to be defeated. But when it comes to the security of nation, your individual liberty can be curtailed at the cost of national security. What is national security? ability of nation to protect its own values from the external threats. Once if it comes into the mind of central government, they can do whatever they want. They have a power of eminent domain. But there must be some reason and justification whatever they do, because finally it goes to the Supreme Court for interpretation. When it goes to the Supreme Court, then again. So to facilitate some state depends upon their requirement, this Article 370 will be used generally to protect the interest of their people, because they have to see all states in equal. When it comes to the equality in treating state, there is a famous saying: equal should be treated, equal state should be treated equally, unequal state should be treated unequally. If you treat equal with unequal, unequal with equal, again there will be glaring violation of right to equality. Hope you got my point. Thank you, sir. Is there any questions? I'm expecting your freedom of speech and expression. So keeping that in mind, I felt this, if it is, of course, it depends. When you are going to add something to the primary school level students, their level of knowledge, what you require, you can't tell all these things. Just we have to tell them how our state. I always say, there is a society, there they form state. You might have heard about Plato, Aristotle and all. For this much population, state should be like that. Ours is totally exception. Only 10-15 countries, it constitutes half of the population in the world. First one China, second one India, then third one United States of America, suddenly jump into 33 crore. This is 140, 130, then immediately 33. Then New Zealand, Pakistan, all 10 countries, because how I came to know, during time of Corona, I have organized more than 200 seminar conferences where I was telling, this is the population, especially country like India, we should be hats off, we should be grateful to our Honorable Prime Minister, because in such a way, for 130 crore population, bringing vaccination or whatever thing, it's not an easy task. But that appreciation is there. But when it comes to implementation of MNV recommendation and Sarkar Commission recommendation, we are unhappy. Why? Because many things need to be incorporated. Same NDA government, after completion of 50 years, in the remembrance of Constitution, they constituted a Constitution Review Committee headed by M.N. Venkatachalaya, who was former Chief Justice of India. Beautifully, in 2002, he gave so many wonderful recommendations to the country. The same NDA government constituted this committee. Now, same NDA government, I request to look at the MNV report and implement, incorporate in the Constitution through constitutional amendment. Sir.
NEP 2020 also requires higher education institutes to maintain academic bank of credits. Students can earn credits from different colleges.
Yes.
And all that, but this is like a bank account.
Yes.
Bank accounts can be opened only for minors.
Yes.
Okay, like that, this academic bank of credits should start with foundation level itself. There must be some threshold, like
Yes.
balance,
Yes.
to issue checks.
Yes.
So this academic bank of credits at fundamental foundation level and middle school and secondary, it should start with only skills like life skills, empathy, sympathy, constitutional rights,
Okay.
awareness. So they must have threshold, academic bank of credits in soft skills and these values before they can open an account in HEI.
Yes. Correct. Absolutely. Because as Sir told, these are all basic items to be inculcated and implemented, imbibed in the, but while incorporating all these things, one should be very clever. The problem of teacher, they teach same aspects to all type of, same lecture to all type of audience. We have to change the style of lecture according to the targeted audience. Will you agree? Similarly, we have to change the syllabus according to the mindset of a student. In the sense, in the primary level, as sir told, these aspects how it should be. My daughter, she is in the 7th standard. When she showed me about the parliament and judiciary and all, it was so, in the sense, even difficult to understand as a constitutional law teacher. Of course, there are good words are there. How small child reads and understand and digest.
That is a rote learning, go mug it up, vomit and forget.
That's it. That should not be there. So that is to be taken very seriously, meticulously, when they are going to add something in the primary school level, high school level, and there are different levels are there now, pre-nursery to something. So I think many have told about the structure. So what is required, how much syllabus required about constitution? Because being a citizen of this country, I must know. I always say, whether you belong to Christian, whether you have Bible, I don't know. If you belong to Hindu, whether you have Bhagavad Gita, I don't know. If you belong to Muslim, whether you have Quran with you, I don't know. Irrespective of religion you may belong, all should have Indian constitution. That is their Bhagavad Gita, that is their Quran, that is their Bible. Because that gives you strength to participate in the democratic setup. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you, sir, for conveying so much information with such smooth humor. Along with the numerous things that we learned today, we also take away how to make teaching as enjoyable as you taught us today. And learning has to be fun, and it was an apt example. The last 1 hour has been joyful for all of us. Thank you for bringing in so much energy into this technical session. I request you to come onto the dais, sir. I request Patil sir to come onto the dais. I thank both the technical speakers of the afternoon session. It was very joyful. And I speak on behalf of everybody that we had a very good time learning today. Thank you very much. I request Anuradha ma'am to give a token of appreciation to Patil sir. I again request Anuradha ma'am to show a token of give a token of appreciation to Dr. Satish Gawas.
One thing to say about him is he always chooses last talk or after lunch talk.
Ma'am, we are also glad we came in the post-lunch session.
With your permission, I will go ahead with just 20 minutes of my talk. Yes. Is it okay? Yes, yes. I think we keep my introduction very, very brief.
Our third speaker for the technical session is Dr. Anuradha ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Just a few highlights of ma'am's profile. Dr. Anuradha ma'am has completed her MSc Botany with the university first rank from SK University, Anandpur. She has MPhil and doctorate in plant biotechnology and started her career as scientist at the Dr. Reddy's Research Foundation. Thereon, she went on to be the senior scientist at SAMI Labs. She is a founder member and director of Rishi Herbal Technologies and founder president of Rishi Foundation. She bagged an award for her herbal product as the best product with export potential by the government of Karnataka, and she was selected as young scientist by TST New Delhi and awarded as a women scientist by TST. She was also a member of Academic Council and Syndicate Bangalore University. She's a member of Governing Council for 5 colleges in Bangalore and member of governing body for Maharani Lakshmi Ammani College. She served as chairperson, member of BOS, BOE of academic bodies of numerous universities and has completed projects to the tune of 4 crores. Consultant to many industries and has published 50 papers in national and international journals, co-authored books and editor of books published by Springer, and has filed 6 patents and 1 US patent and Indian patent granted. She was also the chairperson of NEP Subject Expert Committee of Home Science, Clinical Nutrition and Dietetics, and Human Development and member of NEP Subject Expert Committee of Biotechnology and Microbiology. State Karnataka Higher Education Council, Government of Karnataka, and member of GTBT, Government of Karnataka. I request ma'am to take over the session.
Thank you, Rajni, for your elaborate introduction. I know it is very challenging to talk in the post-lunch session and after Dr. Satish Gaur. But I'll try to make it, may not be that humorous, but I'll try to make it as simple as possible. Okay. When it comes to NEP, people are talking about a lot about skills, skill sets, and so many jargons have come, skills, soft skills, hard skills, and whatever skills, it is life skills, personality development, all these things. Let us just see what we are going to see in this 20-25 minutes of my talk. What are the goals of NEP? And what exactly is NSDC? And what is the Sector Skill Council? And what is National Skill Qualification Framework? And what are National Occupational Standards? And how to align these skill courses into either NEP or into your curriculum. Whether you are going for NAT, whether you are going for Washington Accord, whether you are going for ISO, whatever it is. Finally, a student should be not job ready. They have to be life ready. Skills are that important. When skills are so important, we are really hesitant. I'll take some of the examples what we are having in our regular thing, you know. We would have studied cell division from 3rd standard, 4th standard, and still we study that. And what we remember is 4 phases. Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. Only 4 phases we remember. And for each thing, we remember 1 sentence. Right? What is the prophase? 1 sentence we remember. 1 basic concept we remember. How much ever you teach. I don't say that it is not important. It is very important. When we are studying this progressively from our 3rd standard to our post-graduation or at the PhD level, why not skills you learn progressively, which we don't do. If you have to draw if you want to learn about the microscope in your PUC, Okay, if you want to learn about microscope in your PUC, what you do, they will ask you to draw a diagram. A day before you go to your sister or brother, tomorrow is my practical exam, can you do it for me? Otherwise, there are professional drawing teachers who will take 5 rupees per one drawing and they draw it and give it to you. That's what is happening even in the medical college level, you know, that has become a business. For them, it is very good because they are earning. That is their skill. They are using it. But what about you? You are supposed to do that. You don't know. And all our microscopes, if you go and see in the class, all the mirrors have been removed. I don't know, they would have kept in their purse while going to see. I don't know all these things, no, because you don't know the value of it. You don't know how to use it. You don't know for what purpose it is being given. All these things are a real concern when we boast that startup capital of India, Karnataka. And we bagged awards on par with government of Gujarat. Only 2 awards have been given, best startup capitals in the country. Last year, successively this year, Karnataka and Gujarat bagged it. When they bagged it, 200 and above biotech companies are there in Bangalore. But all the employees who are working are not from Karnataka. They are from outstations. Why is it so? Why is it so? It is not because they love other state people. It is because they feel that there is a gap of skill sets in the students who study. There are so many private colleges. They don't allow you to touch the equipment. They don't allow you. And people who are studying, they definitely lack. NEP talks about it. They say that what the major goals of NEP is flexibility with multi-entry and multi-exit options, experiential learning. If you want to if you want to create anything, first you open that completely, see that, and then refix it. Outcome-based education. Outcome-based education has come finally to in NEP. They ask CO, PO attainment and do COs, POs and map it and then finish it up. That's what. Or otherwise, we go and say that, can you do for me also, for my subject also? Then what is the meaning of this outcome-based education? What is the meaning of course outcome, program outcome? You need to learn and then implement. Then ability and skill enhancement. What are these two things? Are they different? Yes, definitely they are different. We will talk about it. Choice-based credit system. If you want to do biotechnology along with yoga as a subject, there is a provision. If you want to do commerce and biotechnology, there is a provision. If you want to do economics along with your nutrition, there is a provision in NEP. How many of us know? There was a small saying, somebody said, people are not taking graduation. Our admissions have become slower after NEP has been introduced. People say that if we have to study for 4 years, we will do engineering only. No, why should we do undergraduation? BSc Anokina, we will get ourselves noted as BE. See, at that time, a teacher should know to communicate that even here you can exit after 3rd year and take basic BA degree level, which is not there in the engineering stream. And you have an option of becoming focused goal. Anywhere, any place you can jump. All these things you have to educate people. To educate first, you need to know. Making student job ready with required skill sets is another goal of NEP. First, let us see what are these jargons. So many jargons are there. NSDC, NSQF, NSQC, NQR, NOS, NCQF, QP, all these things, you know, generally I don't like when something is being called as, people who are having the habit of calling as Dr. CNA, Dr. Ashwath Narayan is Dr. CNA. In colleges, everywhere they call like that only. OJM means Manju Bhargavi. If it is like, even in timetable when they give like that, I used to tell, please expand it. I cannot make it out. This has been made so complicated. I am here to simplify it. Don't worry about all these things. We will definitely get it simplified. See, it is a National Skill Development Corporation. you can go to that website and see that it is an excellent mission of Government of India, and which is being founded, and it is a public limited company, where this NSDC has got how it is being constituted, why it is being constituted. Let us not bother about it. What is NSDC is going to do with your NEP or with your students or with your NAC? Let us see that. NSDC has got a very wide vision, and what they did is they have come out with a national policy, and they identified NSDC is National Skill Development Corporation. They have identified 37 sector skill councils. What do you mean by 37 sector skill councils? Every sector, food sector, agriculture sector, automobile sector, telecommunication sector, textile sector, like that. Every industry, starting from beauty and wellness sector, even beauty parlor is also been defined under a sector. Everything which gives you a job is being pooled and made into a sector. And for each sector skill council, they identified a task force. This task force is being chaired by the top position person in that industry. For example, there is LSSDC, that is Life Science Sector Skill Council. Here it is being headed by Dr. Satish Reddy of Dr. Reddy's group, chairman of Dr. Reddy's group. And from this sector, they have chosen various industry persons as members. And these industry persons went to industry and asked them, see, in your industry, for example, you are having a pharma industry where you manufacture only Dolo 65. Okay, 650, everybody knows about it now. Dolo 650. What are the various jobs you are having in your industry? It may be a lowest job of technician, assistant, supervisor, manager and marketing person, packaging person, all that you identify and tell me. And for this, what qualification do you expect? 8th class, 10th class, 12th class? And that qualification will be, these are called as National Occupational Standards. This is the thing, and what they need to know. What they need to know? A person who sweeps the land floor need not know singing or veena or mridangam. They need to know what is cleanliness, what is hygiene, and how to clean the laboratory. For that, what are the various things they need to know? A supervisor or a manager should know interpersonal skills and team leading. Everything is being mentioned. If you open as National Occupational Standards in LSSDC, you will get all national occupational standards. 2,500 job roles have been identified, and each job role is being defined very clearly, and they have given a curriculum. Curriculum, it is not curriculum they have not given, they have given outcomes. What is expected from them? Based on that, you have to make a curriculum. It is backward integration. What need to be expected, then you have to make your curriculum. It is being given so meticulously. When LSSDC or any, see, it is there for commerce, economics, management, for everything, there is a sector skill council. When they come to your college for identifying you as the occasional partner, that means you are eligible to give that program. You are eligible to run that program. They will give you a list of things what you need to have, a list of eligible manpower who are going to train them, that they give. In that list, can I tell you, they have even included chalk piece and duster, whiteboard, goggles. When they came, we took it so lightly. We behaved as if it is like LIC inspection. Get some cashew nuts, sweets, and keep it ready. As soon as they come, we give a bouquet and then make them sit and eat and go. But they directly came and asked, we want. When they were asking those things, can you imagine? We made somebody to run to the nearby workshop and ask them to buy the goggles. That welders irtaralla, avra hatra purchase ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದು ತಂದಿತ್ತು. ಆ level ಅಲ್ಲಿ they do the inspections. And simple things only they ask. That means people should know when to use the safety goggles, how to use the safety goggles. That's what they expect. Based on this, they have come out with NSQF, that is National Skill Qualification Framework. In this, they have derived different levels. Okay, these are the sector skill councils. You can see whether, I don't know whether you can see this or not. See, as I told you, it is going to beauty and wellness sector only. Beauty and wellness sector is there. How many of us know that it is the biggest sector, you know? Government started charging service tax to them because that is a sector where you go to any beauty parlor, they will be counting money. Bag one or two people will be there. You know, people don't mind spending 5,000, 5,000 bill it is that is the situation what is there in beauty and wellness sector, and lot of skilled manpower is required. Lot of skilled manpower is required. You don't know people, they do electrolysis, all these things without having proper skill sets. So they have derived that. You have so many sector skill councils, 37 sector skill councils. I have listed everything. If you want, I will share this thing. Generally, what we think is NSQF means that is level 6 or level 5, level 4, level 3. It is not equivalent to years of study. It is level of your competency. ನಾನು ಇಷ್ಟು ತಿಂಗಳು ಇಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಷ ಓದಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನನಗೆ ಡಿಗ್ರಿ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಷ no it is not like that. It is level of your competency. In the same year you can do 3 levels also if you are competent enough. Then there are many benefits out of it. What are these things? It is internationally accepted practices. When we say that National Skill Qualification Framework, we think that it is only for India. No, all the national skill qualification frameworks are internationally accepted. They also have different levels. As soon as level and takshana, we will shut down our brains. It is not so. You just go through the website after my talk, and it is having international equivalency. Many people say that if I do BWOC program, I am not eligible to do this program there in abroad. It is not so. If anybody is telling that, is false. You need to have credits. They worry about only credits. How many of you know that BWOC is having more credits than regular BSc, regular BCom? BWOC, BCom need to have more credits than only Shilpa might be knowing that because we worked on that. 30 credits per semester is must. Right? 30 credits. Here you have only 24, 25 credits. Again, credits means what we think. Credits means we directly calculate that credits and the ishtena marks. So credits are not equivalent to marks. Credits are teaching learning hours. Teaching learning hours also. Not the timetable what Narayanappa sir is talking about. 1 hour ide illi hogi kootkolli. No, it is teaching learning hours. 1 credit means 1 hour per week. If it is a 4 credit program, you need to have 4 hours per week. It need not be only teaching. It can be practicing, it can be learning, it can be anything. So skills identification to the students. What they do is, now in your NEP, what is happening, you might be having that structure, you know, they say that skill enhancement courses, ability enhancement courses, occasional courses, discipline specific electives, open electives, so many jargons are there. As soon as they talk about all these things, we'll be worried. And syllabus has been, I'm talking about alignment. I say that you need to align whatever skills they asked for National Skill Qualification Framework, for example, in life science. Otherwise, I'll take BCom also as one more example. If they take one of the life science subject in BSc, I feel they should be knowing what is a pH meter, how to calibrate it, how to write the SOP, how to maintain it. All these things I feel they need to know. It is in BCom. If they need to know how to, what exactly is accountancy and how to make that table and how to use the Excel sheet, all these things, skills they need to know. They have to practice it. These skills need to be aligned and you have to keep it in your first year itself, first level itself. But our NEP is not doing, I'm sorry to say this, why our NEP is not doing is, it is a lack of flow of information from one level to another level. Minister thinks one thing, higher education, IAS officer thinks one thing, He will be there in higher education ministry. This 2 years afterwards, he will shift to some other department, go and do revenue department or PWD department. There is no continuous flow thought process illali. Avaga now en madbeku. What should we do? What you have to do is, thanks to NAC, they have created one need, that is value added add-on certificate programs. You have enough of room there. Don't you think so? 30 hours it is required, must you create there. See your NSQ of level. If you think that your BCom graduate or BSc graduate is exiting after first year, I will show that also. These are, I will tell this and later I will go to that. I will complete within another 5 minutes. See, this, there is another jargon, NHEQF. That is National Skill Qualification Framework. What is this NHEQF? National Higher Education Qualification Framework. They are aligning these two things. There is a draft proposal released by them. You can just type as National Higher Education Qualification Framework and take that draft proposal and try to align it. They also defined skills. They also defined levels. They also have connected it to our National Skill Qualification Framework. So based on this, you need to know, when a student, you think that you have a company, you are having a company, there you are hiring a person who exited after first year. What are the things you expect from them? Teach those things to your students as value-added programs. As soon as Patil sir or somebody says that you need minimum 10 value-added programs in your first year, think and write value-added program curriculum, bardu, one on the absent on certificate. No, I am not for that. Anta A grade bedve beda. We don't want that A grade. Let us try to implement while doing this. Next semester in the, determine your mind that we will do it. If you do this, 100% placements will automatically come. Once 100% placements are there, admissions will increase automatically. Once admissions increases automatically, you will become a university. Once you become a university, you will get UGC skill. But you want to have it in a reverse way. First get UGC, then improve the admissions, and then, which is not possible, and then get placements. It should be in the reverse direction. Please think in those lines. This is NHEQF, NSQF. 1 hour is not sufficient to explain all these things. I feel you can go and do your homework. Zoom out. Okay. I think I have explained what is NOS. NOS is the National Occupational Standard. It is very simple. National level alli occupation ge standards beku. What are the things, what are the standards required? And it is made possible by sector skill councils, which are 37 in number. At the end, you will be having an exam. Okay, I'm going to ask questions. Then you will carefully listen and keep it into your mind. And it is this, what this sector skill council is doing. They are bringing everybody together, academicians, industry, labor, everybody to one platform by giving the occupational standards. NOS specify the standard of performance an individual must achieve in the workplace. All these things, you can get it in the net. One thing you should remember is, what is this National Occupational Standard? It is a benchmark. Very clearly, it is bench. One job role, you take it and see the kind of NOS they have given. It is benchmarked for the standards. If they get the skill training in those lines, they will definitely get a job. How to align? That's what I'm talking. How to align? For example, in NSQ of level 3, first and second semesters will be in NSQ of level 3, 4. If you go to NSQ of level 3 or related sector skill council, For example, you need to, you want to incorporate programs in beauty and wellness. You want to incorporate programs in telecommunications. You want to incorporate programs in commerce or management. You identify the sector skill council suitable to you, go to their website and then type a keyword called as NOS, that is National Occupational Standards. You get the complete job role and their curriculum, their learning outcome, hours of teaching, everything you will get it. Different credits, you will get it. Take those value-added programs. I will tell you, hitch is here. Once student will not read that because it is not there in their curriculum. No, there are no marks for that. They will not read for that. How to make the students to go through this? Take accreditation from the Sector Skill Council. They will accreditate you for separate job roles. Each job role you can take a accreditation you can take. Once you take, they will train you to impart the training the student. Apart from that, they will permit you, they will conduct one exam. They will give certificate to the student from NSDC. NSDC gives, the central government gives that certificate that this particular fellow is being trained for the job role, lab technician, assistant. They will give you that certificate that is valid. And they are going to say to the industry that without NSDC and LSSDC or whatever sector skill council certification, don't give apprenticeship to them. That is going to come within 1 year. Once it comes, all of us, if we start understanding the sector skill councils at that time, we cannot do anything. Better we understand before them and try to implement in your respective colleges, respective courses. With this small insight about sector skill councils, I just want to tell you, even if you don't understand anything, if you remember 3 or 4 words, NOS, NSQF, sector skill council, that is good enough for finding a way, because you know the destiny now, you can find a way. I really appreciate and thank all of you for your patient listening, though it is a very dry subject. I know that it is very, very dry subject. It is very tough to digest, but there is no choice. You don't have any choice. You have to. You have to. Got it? So when you don't have a choice, you have to go through this process. And I am approachable anytime, anybody, if they want any information on this thing, because we underwent through this process, underwent a tough time when we are taking these job roles, all that. No, nothing was understanding. We are not understanding anything. As the morning, someone was mentioning, we have to learn and then teach. Because this is the transition phase. Transformation is happening for a good cause. Be proud that you are part of this historical moment of NEP. Be proud that you are in Karnataka, which is the state which is implementing NEP for the first time. Okay, this is the state which is in the forefront. When you are doing it, definitely there will be a lot of flaws because you don't know the way. First step is always alone. This lone step we are putting. We are going forward. We are going forward. Lord Macaulay, I think he told in his to British, no, you want to destroy that country, it is very tough. If you want to do it, you need to destroy their education system. Their education system is so holistic. And even I learned that when Takshashila and Nalanda libraries were burnt, why they were burnt? They were burning for 3 months, it seems. 3 months or 3 years though. They were burning continuously, it seems. Why they burnt, Andre? That fellow who made them to burn that got some disease. It is not being cured by his own fellow doctors in his court. At that time, somebody from this Takshashila and Nalanda University went and treated them. He asked, how come they could able to treat me when my own doctors, what is the knowledge, power, wealth of knowledge they are having? They said it is Takshashila and Nalanda University. They are having, this holistic education approach was there. You need to send after Brahmodpadesham to the forest. There they have to learn cooking. They have to learn being in the hot weather, cold weather, everything, health, wellness, fitness, yoga, everything have been taught. with that, what jealousy, he burnt. That is one story. I don't know whether it is true or not, but that is the story they said. But burning Takshashila and Nalanda University is truth. For whatever reason they did it, it is truth. So we lost our system and we are trying to bring it back. When we are trying to bring it back, it is tough, but let us do it together. Thank you, one and all.
Yes. Thank you very much, ma'am, for the session. I request Patil sir. I request Patil sir to give a token of appreciation to that.
Just one word, concluding. So I'm external. I think 3 months back, I was a guest. Now you have made me as a host. So, that is, what NEP spirit. Okay. So inclusiveness is, practiced very well.
Thank you. We come to the end of our technical session. Thank you very much for all for being here. We have a request. We have only one paper presentation by Dr. Shankar Murthy of GFGC Kengeri. We have time only for one paper today, and the rest we shall continue tomorrow.
Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Shankar Murthy from Government Christian College, Kengeri. No, I don't have PPT. Please, help me. But I have to read. Because I should be thankful to the principal, Madam Anuradha Madam, and also my friend Dr. Tammaya, because the day before yesterday I got a phone call from my friend Tammaya sir to prepare a paper and do presentation on this conference. And yesterday night I sent, day before yesterday I sent an abstract, and yesterday night I prepared the manuscript of my paper. The title given for this is Provisions of Languages under NEP of India 2020. I repeat the title, Provisions of Languages under NEP of India 2020, a study. This is the title which I have given to my paper. And I don't want to take much time because already you are tired and you are not in a position to understand this also. Yeah, I see here my paper will focus more on the educational policies, the policy of language of governments, and also some possible suggestions. My talk will be confined only for 3 points. One is the focus on the policy, educational policy of Government of India, not only 2020, before that also. And also, what are the provisions given to the languages, including English? And also, what are the findings or some suggestions? Let me read the paper. There is no doubt that languages is a unique invention and development in the history of human life. it plays a very vital role in proper, in proper formation of development of a society as well as nation. The main objectives of language is communication and correspondence. Correspondence is a significant factor of advancement in which is shown through languages. When formal education was introduced in India after Macaulay Minute and also efforts made by Rajaram Mohan Roy, since then there has been a lot of changes taken place in education through policy of government as well as and when they came to power. Hence the new education policy of India 2020. The National Education Policy of 2020, popularly known as NEP 2020, has been approved by Government of India on 29 July 2020. And the state Karnataka is the first one has introduced this under the able leadership of Dr. Ashwath Narayan sir. Thanks for his efforts. And the vision, if you see the vision of 1986 education policy, I record that also the preamble of the education policy of 1986 and also the preamble of education policy of 2020. The policy is comprehensive framework for elementary education to higher education, as well as vocational training in both rural and urban India. The policy aims to transfer India's education system by 2030. This is the vision of 2020 education policy. The new education policy provides an important opportunity to move Indian education from sorting, SORTING, and selection, under quote, to human development, enabling every student to develop their maximum potential. This is the vision of new education policy of 2020. If you see the provisions of language, just because I skip few lines and paragraph also, I straight away come to the focal point. If you see the provisions of languages under NEP 2020, the government clarified that no one will be forced to study any particular languages and that the medium of instruction will not be shifted to any regional languages. The language policy is a broad guidelines and advisory in nature, and it is up to the states, institutions, school to on the implementation, because education in India is in concurrent list. So the policy has emphasized on the use of mother tongue or a regional language or local languages as a medium of instruction till class 5th, while recommending its continuance till 8th and beyond. That it means that you must be knowing up to 3 we have one tier, and 3 to 6 we have another pattern of education, and 5 to 9 and like that. The pattern is there that is given accordingly. Syllabi has been prepared. Here also the primary and secondary education shall be given through mother tongue or regional language or a local language, the language that is their vernacular language. Even Sanskrit and foreign languages will also be given emphasis. The policy recommends that the student will learn 3 languages. Learning 3 languages is also there in the earlier policy, and the same has been taken here also. 3 languages in their school under the formula of Tribhasha. At least 2 of the 3 languages should be native to India. This is the very important thing that the new NEP 2020 has focused more on the regional language, and also along with the Hindi language, which is the language which is implemented to the people who are knowing Hindi language. But the more scope has given to the regional languages also. The school under the formula of tribals, at least for no, 2 of the 3 languages should be native in India, and it is up to school to decide the implementation and on this more detail was given in the national curriculum framework. Madam was talking about this national curriculum framework NCF in 2021. The policy also focuses more on school education. I'm talking about the primary and the secondary education now. The school education with a vision of achieving highest priority to achieve a full literacy by 2025. And another 2 years, we have to make everyone as a literate. That is why the primary education, right to education has been incorporated in as a fundamental rights. We have to achieve the goal to make everyone to be literate by the year 2025. It has given much importance to acquire language skill through grammar, and less important is given to literary component. This is what the gap we can find with teaching and learning languages. We have given much importance to language learning. We are enabling only the speaking skill of the student while forgetting other skills like writing, reading, and others. Through grammar, and is less important given to a literary component. It means learning language through language, not through literary aesthetics or literary text. Language teaching learning, not only to English language, any language for that matter. A language teacher must be here. They must be knowing all these things. Through languages is not through aesthetics. Language teaching learning is confined only to acquire LSRW, that is listening, speaking, reading and writing skills. Madam was talking about the skill component, and now the NEP has given much scope to teach language as a language by inculcating or teaching the skill involved in language learning process. And testing method is also reduced to ask MCQ question. This is another setback in language teaching language learning. We are asking only multiple choice question. Evaluation is something unique, but as a teacher, teaching languages is not happy. Myself, I am not happy because under NEP that we have to consider the testing method has to be something unique that we have to make them pass also without their efforts. Therefore, they'll introduce MCQ format and a few space for descriptive question format. In higher education learning, learning language is no way is different from primary and second. Now I'm talking about the role of language in higher education, how language has been considered in NEP. Yeah, primary and secondary education. Language teaching learning is only for 2 years out of 4 years of program. Now we have a degree for 4 years. We have multiple entry and exit, as Madam said. But if student exist from the program, coming after 2-3 years, definitely might have chances of forget language skills and also language component. There are multiple entries and exits which would distance the learning in language, language learning. On the other hand, the NEP has given provision to enable student language communication skill through grammar, workbook, and classroom activities or exercises. This would be appreciable, and it would curtail the natural ability of student to learn other skill except speaking. See, the NEP has focused, the language teacher has to focus more on enabling the speaking skills of the student, and quite naturally has forgotten to enforce the other other skills, which are also most important. All except speaking. Another demerit is that the language of the languages of Hindi belt would be Hindi as a medium of instruction, English and Indian languages from 8th schedule, and non-Hindi speaking states home languages or local languages as a medium of instruction, English and one modern Indian languages, whereas there is no specific provision for overseas student who came to India for education. There is no scope for the foreign student which language has to study. Therefore, you must be knowing that the private institution people, they've approached the court regarding these issues, and whether Kannada is made as a mandatory subject, since we are in Karnataka, but for that, the verdict has come out that it is not a mandatory. As such is the case, you must be knowing that the student who come from foreign country to approach their higher education in India, there is no specification about the language learning and language teaching in India. To overcome from this limitation, there are some possible suggestions to incorporate as provisions of language in NEP. I'm I'm giving suggestion for this. Within 2 minutes, I'll conclude this. There must be an autonomy in choosing language or medium of instruction by the student for his learning process. There must be autonomy. That student is the supreme to choose whatever the language he or she must take and study. And secondly, there must be a more specification about specification about 3 language. This is the NEP has given a student should learn at least 3 language. Out of that, minimum 2 language, state language has to study. As such is the case, there is no demarcation. There is no specification. How and what languages he or she has to study. Thirdly, a language teaching learning must be more inclusive. That it means that now learning language, particularly English language, has been neglected under NEP, in fact. And more emphasis or more scope is given for regional language. But thing is, we are talking about an international standard, and curtailing or not introducing English as one of the mandatory subject. As such is the case, we can find a dichotomy in the NEP and the spirit of NEP. We are talking about international. See, in the world level, which language is more powerful, and which language which is creating employment. As such is the case, we have to give much importance to that language and the medium of instruction. That is not clear in the NEP. And thirdly, the language teaching learning is and lastly, it should be taught for all the 4 years, not only 2 years, because country like India, and you must be knowing that the student are, as sir was talking about, that we are facing the heterogeneous classroom, whereby there is a social background, economical background, all these disparities there. For them, we have to teach language for all the 4 years, not for 2 years. With this, I know the NEP of 2020 has some limitation, but the spirit behind it is excellent, because the language teaching learning has become more practical, because since I'm an English teacher, I used to teach English through literature, taking Romeo, Juliet, Julius Caesar, Pyramus Thisbe, these Ramayana, Mahabharata, everything. This is not required according to this NEP. We have to teach language through language. What are the skills which are involved? That skill we have to teach and enable the student to learn the language component, and more practical and functional also. That is why with the able leadership of my friend Tammaya, we have prepared a textbook. Functional English is as also one of the papers, and applicability of language for our day-to-day life. With this, I conclude this. A lot of things I've prepared to tell, but due to time constraint, I may not able to reach you. But for this opportunity, I extend my heartfelt thanks to Principal Madam and the faculty members, the fellow participants, and resource persons, all the teaching fraternity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. We now we have successfully come to an end of day one of the two-day national conference on best practices in implementation of NEP. We shall meet again tomorrow and we shall continue with the paper presentation. Thank you, everyone.